let me explain how I understand the pathology around this with white America. See, white America, in America in general, has a collective pathology. Here's the first thing. I went to South Africa. 1994, I went to South Africa. Myself and 8 other African American women went to South Africa. And it was right on the heels of the inauguration. You know, I'm in Johannesburg. And I got to tell you, I saw all the folks, you know, I really prepared to go. You know, I got an attitude. You know how you prepare yourself? It's like when you've had an argument with somebody, you know, and then the next day you go see them, right? They done you wrong and you getting ready to see them the next day. So what you do is you think to yourself, well, you know, if they say this is what I'm going to say. Okay, you know, you know, if they go there, then, you know. So you rehearse the whole thing. It never works, right? When you get there, you're all prepared, and the person says, gosh, you know, I really apologize for last night. I don't know what happened. And you're sitting there like, you know, it doesn't go nowhere. So I'm in South Africa because I'm prepared for people to act out, you know. I'm black. Yeah, I'm black. You know, I'm ready to, you know. So I'm walking around about 2-3 weeks. You know, nothing's happening. You know, so I start provoking folks. Because you're not going to go and have a whole trip in South Africa and not have an experience. Okay, I'm going to come back with some kind of experience. So I start asking the white South Africans, I said, you know, tell me something. What was it like, that apartheid? You know, that must have been something. They go, yeah, Joy, you know, it's a horrible thing. The behavior of the whites, the oppression of the blacks. We're glad it's over. Welcome to the new South Africa. So about a half dozen people do that to me. I said, I know. Okay, I'm going to ask the black South Africa, right? So I go to the black South Africa and say, you know, come on, talk to me. It must have been, you know, that apartheid. Tell me a little bit about that. What, you know, what was that like? Joy, you know, it was a horrible thing. The oppression of the blacks, the behavior of the whites. We're glad it's over. Welcome to the new South Africa. And I'm thinking, isn't anybody just a little bit upset? You know, we got our folks in Idaho that's behaving bad, and the whole crew. Come on now, they got to be there. And I'm sure they were. But I was 6.5 weeks in Southern Africa, and I didn't experience the level of oppression and racism that I experienced in the Portland airport. It did not happen to me. So I stopped and I thought to myself, I said, what is going on here? I began to assess the situation. The situation was like this. You see, South Africa owned it. They owned it to the entire world. They got up, said, yep, we did it. What's showing? Everybody knows it. Please come back and bring your money. Okay. South Africa knew that they didn't. America's pathology is her denial. It is what keeps us sick. I have a true value that I carry with me everywhere I go. I carry it with me in treatment when I'm dealing with folks one-on-one in terms of therapy. I carry it with me as it relates to my children in every activity of my life. Truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtue. And without truthfulness, you cannot attain to any other virtue. So I don't care what you do, or who you are, how much you make, or how much people like you. If you're lying, you're not going to be a healthy person. Right. Simple as that. Now, we should have known that a long time ago because we've been told that. But I understand it on a lot of different levels. It is our denial that makes us sick. It is the secrets that make us sick. And so I understand that so clearly that in everything I do, I insist upon the truth. So I tell folks, I'm going to tell you the truth. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm going to own it. If you bring me something that says, Joy, you know, wasn't quite right on that. That was 1832. I'm going to say, okay, let me mark it in. I don't have a problem with people not, you know, with being wrong. But my intent and what's in my heart is to tell the truth. I'm going to always try to tell the truth. And so the key here is to recognize that in everything, including on a global scale to a very micro scale, we've got to tell the truth. And there is fear associated with that. And the fear associated with that represents itself in a lot of different ways. One is, what white people do, a lot of folks, you know, because I work in a world where I go into corporate America, you know, I trained 750 police officers, for example, in Oregon. And I realized after that there was no one I couldn't train. Okay. After all, these folks had guns, okay? And so I realized that, you know, in training all these different folks that there's a pathology around the denial. And the denial represents itself in a lot of ways. One is someone will tell you, I don't care what color you are. I don't care about color. Oh, you could be purple, green, or blue. Well, guess what? No one is. Have you noticed that whenever you hear people say that, these people are so much in denial, they can't even use real color. Right. They never do. And it's a perfect indication. I've even said that in a workshop and had someone, because it's so knee-jerk, say it. You know what? I don't care if you're blue-green, and everybody in the room kind of looks at them like, denial. You know, it becomes real clear. I also recognize this when I go in, because I know I'm going into a war. First of all, last thing these police officers wanted to see was a woman telling them anything. Least of all, a black woman, and worse still, a young black woman, right? And it was mandatory training, you know, and I'm aware of this, but, you know, I know how to deal with pathology. I'm a therapist, so I know how to deal with sick people. So when they went off with me, I got with them. You know, I went therapeutic on them, you know, so I understood that. When they would lose it, I said, I know I'm dealing with some folks that ain't right here. So when I was working with that group, though, I really started to understand a little bit more about the pathology around denial. Another thing that folks will say is, I don't even notice. These are folks that are beyond you and I, by the way. I don't notice race. Gosh, I don't even notice it. I think that's interesting. So in other words, what you're saying to me is you prefer to erase me than to see me. I'm African American, I'm okay with that, and I insist upon you acknowledging that and not erasing me. No, you do notice. That's not true. You do notice. And the fact of the matter is, the thing I love, there's two groups of people that always tell the truth. Old people, because they don't care what you think. You know, I remember a real dear friend of mine, his name is Mr. Golar. Mr. Golar, you know, he died not too long ago, and he was in his late 70s. He would stand up and give you the truth. And when Mr. Golar would say something, it didn't matter. Everybody shut up and listened to him, right? Because he was old, and you listen to Mr. Golar. Mr. Golar said, I want to tell you something, and I need to tell all you women out here something. Men is stupid. That was it. The answer to whatever you got to say about is men is stupid. Right? So I said, okay. You know, when it gets deep in the marriage, I tell my husband, now you know what Mr. Golar said. You know what he said, you know? And when you see that kind of notion of truth, the other group that tells you are children. You got a booger in your nose. You know, they tell you, don't they? They tell you the truth. And so children tell the truth, and they do notice. And they point at folks that look different. And they tell you how they look different. You know, so I know that that's not true. So there's another representation of the denial. It reflects itself that way. Then there's some other behaviors. If you're at work, this is wonderful. People go to work, and people want to be politically correct. So it's politically correct to do diversity type stuff. So this is what I call the fruit and festival approach to dealing with rape. I know. Let's have a potluck. Let's do, it's Black History Month. Let's do a potluck. Let's do a diversity thing. Don't get Lorraine in accounting. Isn't she like Mexican or something? Yeah, good. Get her. And I think there's an Asian guy. Get him. Let's do a little committee. Have him all come together. We'll do a little thing. Everybody brings ethnic food. And then maybe we can throw in a little ethnic garb, right? And then we'll make little ethnic music there. And then we'll just celebrate diversity, right? Now, what you just said is all we really brought was our food, our garb, and our music, which trivializes culture, doesn't it? It just totally trivializes it. Because, again, there's a denial of any relevance, that we had any major contribution to the world. Any of those groups, right? And then is what I call the parsley on the plate approach. Right? This is when they'll have a conference or something, they go, let's do a kind of a cultural piece. Throw it in at the end, you know, give an hour to some little thing at the end. Let's just add it on kind of thing as an additional. It's not the main meat. It's just that little piece you add. And if you think of it in the context of when you go to restaurants, you guys got serious restaurants here, boy, I'm telling you. We don't know how to eat anywhere else in the world. But in New York, y'all know how to eat. You go to a restaurant, doesn't matter which restaurant you go to. Doesn't matter. If it's a good restaurant, you can order egg. You notice how they put that little parsley on there? Come on now, you know you feel good about that parsley. You kind of raise up a little bit when that, you know, because you know you're not in your own kitchen. Because you got that little, it gives, but you ain't eating that parsley. You're going to scrape that on off the plate and move it on out the way. You have no intention of eating that parsley. But you want it there. Matter of fact, if they brought that little plate blank, you'd be upset. You go, where's my parsley? You know, just so you could throw it away. And that's the other way they treat it. It's a non-essential, you see. It's something that simply adds color. Y'all can be here, but you don't really have any content.